A lot of these people just don't like it. It is like very obvious in the way that they talk that they feel personally uncomfortable with it.
Women shouldn't box.
Oh. I was kind of shocked by his take. I was about to like defend them, be like, no, there's no way they actually think that. They just, you know, are misguided, but they actually think women shouldn't box at all.
It's wrong. I can't watch it.
iDubbbz new video about women. So iDubbbz made a new video. Interesting. It's kind of sad that when you look up iDubbbz now, the most popular video is a video shitting on him. How iDubbbz lost his entire audience in 1 month. Clickbait title, don't you think? All right, 100% Woman is a new video he made. I think this is about the Olympic woman who people said was trans, but wasn't actually trans and did have a pussy, but was just like kind of a naturally high test woman, I believe, is the situation here. That's my understanding. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be a good video. It could be the case. You don't know. I've wanted some good iDubbbz content. Maybe it'll be good, you know? Maybe it'll be fire. 100% Woman, the new video by iDubbbz. Is it Kino?
People don't go into fighting that had great lives. And people
Chill.
don't do well at fighting that had great lives. So now I'm looking at this athlete. I don't imagine she was Miss Popular at school. I don't imagine a lot of nice things happened to her. But I do know the sacrifice that it would take to make an Olympic team, let alone to make the Olympic finals. You have no money. You have no job. This doesn't pay.
Oh, you're kidding me. I don't think it's YouTube right now, honestly. If I'm being honest. If I'm being completely honest with myself. Is the new iDubbbz video good is the question we're going to be answering today, okay? We're asking and hopefully answering, because I would love to know, you know? 27 minutes long, called 100% Woman. It might be good. It might be fire. It might be interesting. It might be Kino. It might be a game changer. I'm open to it, okay? I'm open to it. New iDubbbz commentary video. At the very least, I'd like to see a new commentary video from him, you know? I do. It's bad. We'll find out. We will find out.
People don't go into fighting that had great lives. And people don't do well at fighting that had great lives. So now I'm looking at this athlete. I don't imagine she was Miss Popular at school. I don't imagine a lot of nice things happened to her. But I do know the sacrifice that it would take to make an Olympic team, let alone to make the Olympic finals. You have no money. You have no job. This doesn't pay. But there is one payoff, which if should you succeed, and only 3 of them will, gold, silver, and bronze, somebody somewhere will pat you on the back and tell you good job. She's an amateur athlete. She's gonna go fight 4 people this week and get nothing for it. None of you would have even known she was fighting. So now imagine you reach your goal, you sacrificed, you ate the SpaghettiOs, you lived 3 deep down in mom's basement, you did all of these things, and you brought honor to your country. And not only did somebody not tell you good job, which is the only thing you ever hope to get, they now do the opposite. And they tell you you're a man. You think life for her gets better?
Jesus. Logan Paul says, this is the purest form of evil unfolding right before your eyes. A man was allowed to beat up a woman on a global stage, crushing her life's dream while fighting for her deceased father. The delusion must end. Jake says, this is sickening. This is a travesty. Doesn't matter what you believe. This is wrong and dangerous. J.K. Rowling says, could any picture sum up our new men's rights movement better? The smirk of a male who knows he's protected by a misogynist sporting establishment, enjoying the distress of a woman he's just punched in the head and whose life ambition he's just shattered. Well, I think that men beating women is base, so I think that should happen in the Olympics, personally. I think there should be a domestic abuse competition.
This is such a terrible thing for her to have said about her. And it's not true. There is no test.
My understanding of the situation from reading about it a little bit, because there was a video I did about Tyler 1 and the whole controversy. My basic takeaway was like this. I think her name is Iman Khalif. They are technically a woman. Like they're not. I think a lot of people thought that they were like trans, like male to female, which is why they were all like, this fucking guy is fighting. But I think they're not even a guy. I think they are like a woman with a pussy, like from birth, but their chromosomes were like fucked up or something, which is like rare, but it does happen. And they're like relatively masculine. But I don't think it was just a straight up guy. That was my understanding. A woman with a pussy from birth. Well, there are a lot of women with dicks from birth you see around these days who are running around, you know. So I think it's an important distinction. You know, these lines have been blurred. These lines have been blurred quite a bit. Thank you, Booty Call Hotline, for becoming a member. Piers Morgan forced to delete tweet after Iman Khalif wins Olympic boxing gold. Logan Paul misses spreading misinformation after calling Algerian boxer a man. J.K. Rowling deletes tweets. Whoa, they all had to walk it back.
Oh boy. It might feel like a gender controversy at the Olympics is a very 2024 kind of issue, but we've always been obsessed with other people's gender. Like, ever since the 30s, we were like pointing fingers at other countries saying, your women aren't like our women. Our women are normal. Your women are actually men dressed up as women. And as soon as that thought like permeated the globe, like we haven't been able to let it go. And now that people are trans-identifying, it feels like all of it has like reached a boiling point. So the transgender women and even the cisgendered women, they're all getting shat on. It takes no prisoners. We got Alona Mar.
I always get these comments, but like recently it kind of ramped up. I get comments being called a man and being called masculine and asking if I'm on steroids.
You got Katie Ledecky.
This is like a very common trend. I don't know how much of it is like quote unquote transphobia versus like fetishization. There's this weird trend online of like guys who will like call women boys, but it's like they want them to be a dude. It's like they want them to be a guy. It's like a fetishistic thing, which is crazy. But that is a thing you see quite a bit. And it's like, why? Like, why are you being an unironic chaser? I don't think it's a good thing to be a chaser, you know? I think the term chaser should just be switched around to be called being gay, generally speaking. I think that would probably be, you know, in the public's best interest to just flip that. Like, you're a chaser. Oh, so you like, you know, if you're specifically attracted to a person because they transitioned, I think that probably makes you gay to some extent, you know?
Also being called a man, you can rest assured that if you're a woman who's talented in sports, you're going to be called a man. You also have 2 Zambian football players who are targeted specifically by Australian news outlets.
Look at the MLP Misty controversy with Andy Price. It's actually insane. It's actually insane. So this is normal, but that is actually insane. It's actually insane. Okay, maybe I will take a look.
Outlets.
There's 2 athletes.
I will say, listen, to give him credit where credit's due, I feel like shaving his head is good. Normally when I watch his videos, I feel like I just have to comment on how fucked up his mullet is, but you know, even as a guy with a fucked up haircut a lot of the time. But I will say, shaving his head, he looks good. He does, okay? I think that's for the best. His haircut, like, I feel like in the last 100 videos I've seen were like super fucked up. Looks like a skinhead. Well, that's cool. What's wrong with that? Looking like a skinhead is freaking awesome, okay? It's much better than whatever he was doing before, all right? He looks like he was like knockoff Curtis Connor, which is a dark place to be. You know, you don't want to be Curtis Connor in the first place. Never mind knockoff Curtis Connor. That's an extremely dark sort of area to be in online, in my opinion. He looks like a bowler. Is this what bowlers look like? People who bowl look like this? What do you mean?
Football players who are targeted specifically by Australian news outlets.
There's 2 athletes in the Zambian football team who played against the Matildas the other day.
2 of them are on the Zambian football team, and our Matildas went to play with them. You have to ask yourself, were you not a biological male, would you have scored twice against our girls?
What's even worse?
All girls are girls. All girls are girls. All girls have long hair. All girls have XX chromosomes. The Matildas. We should rename the Matildas to XXs so they know that we're girls. And lastly, you have Lin Yuting of Taipei and Iman Khalif of Algeria, the 2 women boxers who are competing at this year's Olympics. As a professional boxer and boxing promoter and radical trans activist, I felt like this story was tailor-made for me. One of the first things that I discovered was that there were more people talking about Iman Khalif than the Olympic Dutch rapist.
Wait, what?
More people talking about Iman Khalif than the Olympic...
Steven Van de Velde? Olympic Dutch rapist? Steven Van de Velde? What? What the hell? How did he even get in the Olympics? Dutch beach volleyball player convicted of raping a child speaks out after Olympics inclusion uproar. Dutch beach volleyball player Steven Van de Velde, who was convicted of raping a 12-year-old girl, spoke out for the first time since controversy over his admittance into the Olympic Games. Van de Velde, who's now 30 but was 19 at the time of the 2014 crime. He was 19? Ooh. Straight up certified pedophile. Jeez. How is he even competing? Do the Charleston? What the fuck is the Charleston? I'm talking about a fucking pedophile right now. What is the Charleston? Make him do the Charleston or something. The Dutch diddler? What? How is he even in the Olympics? He was released in 2017 and this year represented the Netherlands in beach volleyball at the Olympic Games in Paris, with the backing of the Dutch Volleyball Federation Navobo. His inclusion in the game sparked much furore on social media and was condemned by many as not being befitting of the Olympics. I definitely had a quitting moment both before the tournament and during it, he said in an interview released on Tuesday. But I thought, I'm not going to give others the power to bully me away or get me away. You should. You should allow the bullies to win. He was convicted? What the fuck? I want you to know that when I watch Chicken Chat streams, I pretend I'm talking to you like a boomer watching Tucker on Fox. Based. Hey there, TBG. Hey there, TBG. Stop feminizing. Stop being a femboy, okay? That's weird. The green M&M. They're taking out the green M&M. Velde reached the round of 16 with teammate Matthew Emmers before losing to Brazil. It was booed on several occasions, according to media reports. Velde said this had an impact on his performance, but understood what people have been talking about his inclusion in the Olympics. Do you want somebody with a history? Can you stand on the podium? There's a legitimate question to ask, but I'm not the person I was 10 years ago. Well, you still did that. Like, most people aren't willing to forgive that. It doesn't really matter. Tom Dark's a Charleston White for white people. Based. I can't change what people think of me. Someone can hold me responsible forever for what happened, and that's okay because it is what it is. It's their right, so I accept that. Safeguarding organizations deeply concerned. Yeah, they should be concerned. What the hell? He was convicted at the time according to English law and has served his sentence. From then on, we have been in constant contact with Steven, who has now been fully reintegrated into the Dutch volleyball community. Is he that good? Is he just that good that they needed to have him in? Could they not find someone else? Don't forget the Mujan video. I didn't forget it. I just don't know if I'll get to it, but we'll try. We'll try if we have time. Twinkie Tom, if you don't do the Charleston, will you do the stanky leg? CP was legal in the Netherlands from 1970 to 2000. What? What's going to happen if I look this up? Netherlands laws on CP. In 1970, the publication of sex magazine Chick resulted in the Dutch Chick arrest by the Supreme Court of Netherlands, which in turn led to the new Dutch moral law of 1971 that no longer criminally sanctioned pornography. As a result, CP became effectively legal, and Joop Wilhelmus started publishing CP-related magazine Lolita. Jesus. In 2020, the European Commission reported that in 2019, the Netherlands hosted 71% of the CP detected in Europe by the Internet Watch Foundation, an increase from 47% in 2018. Jesus Christ. Well, seems like an interesting place. Jesus Christ, bro. What's going on?
Dutch rapist. The celebrities that decided to speak up on this controversy.
Child rapist.
They did not send their best. Stinky McFart ass. The fattest baby in the room. Every member of the Paul household. I wrote down here the family that seems like they might use the word bloodline one too many times in casual conversation. Piers Morgan. Dilbert. Doug Dimmadome, Tutter Mouse from Bear in the Big Blue House. I was listening to him on a podcast with the Purple Otters, and they were saying all sorts of, like, awful transphobic shit. Yeah, so the wait's been long enough. Let's hear from these people.
They let a transgender, there's apparently at least two transgender boxers that are fighting in women's boxing. What the fuck?
The misinformation allegations, they got him. He's destroying Joe Rogan. I mean, so far to his credit, this is actually quite a good video. It's pretty interesting. I mean, he's actually doing a good job of like dissecting how wrong these people were. It seems like they weren't trans. Tickle Tom, how much for you to watch Charleston with iDubbbz, bro? Or sorry, do the Charleston with iDubbbz, dude. I'm not doing the fucking Charleston. No. People legitimately believe Algeria, a country that jails and legally reprimands homosexuals and trans people, would send one to the Olympics to represent them. It's something I never really understood. Well, I think what happened is they just heard that there was another trans person in sports and just said that, despite the fact that it wasn't really true.
I don't understand. You can't understand because you're not retarded.
Look at this. This is a man. This is a man.
That's a dude. And if it is a woman, a very ugly woman.
Bruh.
Leaf like slaps Karini in the chest. Almost looks like Karini gets groped.
And you've got this
looks like she gets groped? Jesus.
Disgusting piece of shit.
Whoa. Freedom and beer. Look at this guy. He's mad. He's freaking mad. Testicle Thomas, what is the Charleston? I don't know what the Charleston is. Stop asking me about the Charleston. I don't know. His 7-head is fire, I agree.
Tries to come over and, hey, it's okay, it's okay. Angela Carini wants nothing to do with this guy.
They have no breasts. They are built like men. They are 5'10".
The far left wants to allow biological males to beat the living crap out of women in boxing.
She got hit so hard she didn't know what the hell hit her. It's a person that transitioned. He was a good male.
Damn, this misinformation seemingly spread pretty far, bro. Spread to the very top of the game. Megamind spotted. The thing is, it didn't even look like he was balding. He just genuinely had a big head, which is an interesting situation to be in.
Congratulations to the male.
Tim Pool.
Bravo on
not surprising.
Slugging that woman in a boxing match. Wow, you really proved how great you are at fighting.
Did any of these people ever acknowledge that they were like lying intentionally or unintentionally? People still watch Turkey Tom. My whole hood watches Kamala Harris. Bro, I knew this moment existed, but I didn't really internalize how amazing it was until recently. The Kamala Harris coconut tree thing is like so awesome. The Charleston is Flapper from Fortnite. I don't care about the Charleston. Stop telling me about the Charleston. What is the Charleston? I don't care. This video is awesome. Did you young people just fall out of a coconut tree? This is epic.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
What is she saying? Your mom did not say that. No one's ever said, you young people just fell out of a coconut tree. There's no way her mother said that. This is just who says this? What is she talking about?
You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Dude, I want to start saying this to everyone. Anytime someone says something silly, be like, did you just fall out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all and what did and will come before you, or whatever the fuck. Like, what is she saying? Pegasus? What does Pegasus have to do with the Charleston? What are you talking about? Really, she's old? I don't care that she's old. Why is she talking about the coconut tree? What coconut tree? Has anyone said this ever? Am I retarded for just being like shocked? Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Nietzsche, and now Harris based. I know what she's saying. Like, I do understand what she's saying, but the way she says this, so what is she saying? Like, what? Why? It's so like, politicians are like so inhuman.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
She just laughs to herself. You can hear the crowd like nervously laughing, like, oh, that's a joke. Would you want a gritty daughter or Charleston's son? Gritty daughter for sure.
You exist in the context.
You exist in the context. Long pause.
Of all in which you live and what came before you.
You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
So all of this is part of the work of this group.
Like, I don't know. I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, for that moment. It's just like flabbergasting to me. Tom fell out of a coconut tree and did the Charleston. What is, dude? I use Pot of Greed, which lets me draw 3 additional Charlestons from a coconut tree. What are you talking about? Stop with the Charleston shit. I'm denying the Charleston allegations. No more. Literally no more. Stop talking about the fucking Charleston. Did Tim Pool do the Charleston to get the Russian money? Like, what are you saying? The Charleston's a racist dance. Well, I got to do it now. I quote it all the time. Coconut maxing. Dude, it is insane. It's an absolutely insane line. Did you just fall out of a coconut tree? Like, stop talking. I don't know. These people are weird. These people are so fucking weird.
By punching a woman in the face.
Is it not obvious that these people are just fucked up? They're really fucked up in the head. Like, I feel very fortunate to have not continued going down that path. I do have to cut them some slack because it is difficult to find accurate news when the only way you find your news is by looking at Riley Gaines' Instagram.
They let a transgender...
Don't stop yelling Charleston. I'm so close. I'm Charlestoning. The thing is, like, if you can't get accurate information about something, then just don't report on it with such a strong stance, you know? Like, if you can't get accurate information, and this goes for all these people, you know, I'll hold them to the same standard I would hold a YouTuber to. If you can't get accurate information about something, you shouldn't make an allegation / claim, you know? This is the same problem I would have with any YouTuber, you know?
Apparently at least two transgender boxers. Distinction.
This article says they're not transgender.
What are you talking about?
This says.
They may be intersex. Riley Gaines posted it on her Instagram, failing gender eligibility.
Well, Riley Gaines must be right. Who is Riley Gaines? If it was the 1920s, what would you be doing? I don't know. Saying, she, whippersnapper, she. That's what I'd be saying. Riley Gaines. Who is Riley Gaines? American swimmer and political activist. You know what? I actually forgive her. She's a little too jacked, but I forgive her. Okay, I forgive her for what she said. I forgive her for the misinformation she spread for no particular reason. That's what I would say about that. Okay, on account of her talent. That's what I would say. All right, enough gooning. Back to the topic at hand. No gooning. We said we would stop. Why even say something like this? Okay, why even say something like this in my chat? I'm trying to stop gooning. I'm not trying to give in.
Ability tests. Okay, that means they're transgender, Jamie.
Getting your trans news from Riley Gaines is a very bad choice. This is like reading the Jerusalem Post.
It's so nimble. Jesus.
Post to learn about atrocities in Palestine. Iman Khalif and Lin Yuting are not trans, and it's only an allegation that they're intersex. So when I talk about trans people in this video, it's meant to highlight the fact that the same tactics that are being used to dehumanize trans women are being used to dehumanize all women.
They have no breasts. They are built like men. They are 5'10".
If you don't fit into this very small box of what society has deemed a woman to be, you're going to be accused of being a man. Now, I know some of you haven't heard the full story of Iman Khalif at the Olympics, so I'll give you a brief overview, because if you...
I'm not doing the fucking party hips, Ro Trubor. I'm not doing the party hips. There's no way. She gave the you'll never be a woman copy pasta. I mean, basically.
You listen to anyone from a month ago, they were talking about it like it's the season finale of Game of Thrones.
At 12:20, she went into the ring. By 12:22, we had an international disaster.
Iman's first opponent in this competition was Italian boxer
Thank you, Vanny.
Angela Carini. Now, Angela Carini is a good boxer. She's been boxing for many years and is obviously good enough to represent Italy. So the fight starts, and in the first 30 seconds, things are looking pretty basic, but you could tell that Angela Carini is outmatched. So after those 30 seconds, she goes to her
I mean, you just look at how much taller this other person is.
corner because she has something wrong with her headgear. She needs to get her headgear readjusted. So after she gets her headgear fixed, she comes in, and not like 5 seconds later, she gets a cross to the face. Trump.
I kind of want to watch this match rather than just watch iDubbbz' retelling of it. Iman Khalif boxing match. Iman Khalif boxing. I want to just watch the actual fight. This is her fighting with a Chinese woman. I want to watch the Italy one.
In the ring.
Ooh, she is a lot bigger, way bigger. I guess if you want to have a problem with this, the real problem you should have is that like these people are even boxing together in the first place when they're so clearly like kind of mismatched in terms of weight class and height. I feel like that should be the real problem. The problem shouldn't be they're a woman because they're not a woman because I guess they technically are. You know, they're not even trans. They have, you know, fucked up chromos, but they're literally not like a trans person. They have a vagina from birth, you know. I don't think trans people should be in the Olympics. Generally speaking, I think it's a very bad idea. I think there's a lot of problems that can come with that. If they want to have their own Olympics, that's fine. But I don't think that, you know, a guy who transitions to be a woman should be fighting against biological women. I don't think that should be the case. But in this case, I mean, they are biological women, so I think it kind of broke a lot of people's brains. They didn't know how to deal with it.
Has been calling this a jab.
Well, she got hit with 2 jabs. A jab is not supposed to be that bad. 2 jabs, and she said, no more, no more.
A jab is not supposed to be that bad. What do you mean?
I don't want, because she got hit so hard. She said, I've never been hit like that before.
By the way, I do think it's important to point out these small things, because I don't think it's small. It's a very malicious tactic that a lot of these fuckers use to downplay the skill and ability of someone like Iman and say that she's got man strength. And all it took was a jab.
A jab is not supposed to be that bad.
Just a little jab. It wasn't a jab. It was a fucking straight 2 to her face. That's what did it. And that's what any female boxer, any good female boxer would do. Makes me violent. So Angela Carini gets hit with the 2. She's like, ow, that hurted. And she goes back to her corner. All of these pundits and people commentating on it, they're saying all sorts of shit like how heartbreaking it is and how difficult it was to watch.
For me, my reaction when I saw that clip, I mean, it's just absolutely brutal. It's really ugly and it's quite upsetting to see this boxer on the cam.
Unless iDubbbz somehow was lying about this, which I don't, based on what I've read about this situation, it doesn't seem to me like he's lying at all. It seems like this woman was not a man at any point in time, you know? It seems like he's right. It seems like a good video so far. As a woman with medical issues, including high tests, my body shape is far from feminist. This video hits hard, pun intended. I'm 5'3", have large shoulders and muscular arms, yet small hips and chest. I've been politely asked if I was transgender a few times before, but that's okay. So when you're being bullied and harassed, that's not okay, especially if they don't know the truth. I know the whole of the video is much more complicated. I'm only referring to people saying she's a man because of how she looks. Yeah. Newsflash, guys. Women don't owe you shit, and they also don't fit into every little box you want them to, which is true. It is true. No, I can't deny it. These guys' opinions are that women shouldn't box. I don't think that's literally what they're saying, but I think it is like it's kind of a, you know, to give them a little bit of leeway. If you don't know about the situation, it is a natural emotional response when you see, you know, a girl, you know, getting the shit beaten out of her by a big dude, you know. It is in the natural response to be like, that's fucked up. But the real thing is that they weren't even a dude, like, at all. Like, it was just a woman, you know? The fight is somewhat unfair, but it has nothing to do with, like, gender. It's just, like, they were a bigger person. They destroyed them. Just want to say I'm currently the only creator against Ergba and Glass as drama continues to escalate. I love to talk to you sometime. Who the fuck is Ergblaw and Glass? Jubber, if you want to have a call about that at some point, sure. I have no idea who the fuck Ergblaw and Glass are, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, somebody told me to watch some video about it. I think it was your video, and I was like, who the fuck is Ergblaw? And who is Glass? If you want to have a chat, put your, actually, what's your Twitter? I'll just figure out your Twitter. Ergblaw. You don't have a Twitter, do you? All right, well, if you want to put your Discord in the chat, I'll add you on Discord or something. We can have a little chat.
It's crying about being absolutely pummeled.
And I was wincing as I was watching.
Yeah. I know. Look, but
watch a woman get punched in the face is almost unbearable.
This shit was not difficult to watch. This was fine. It was not heartbreaking. It was literally boxing. Watching someone get knocked out cold Anyone getting knocked out cold, that's a difficult watch. Some woman getting booped on the snoot and then crying about it is not a difficult watch. You're a pussy. After Iman was declared the winner, normally people shake hands, but Angela Carini basically just denied the handshake. I'm genuinely uncertain of how many fabricated quotes there are of Angela Carini out there, because one of the first stories that I saw was...
What I'm curious is, did Angela Carini think that Iman was a guy, or were they just upset about the loss? Like, what was going on there?
From Fox News.
One more quote from the defeated Italian. Boxing is a sport that teaches you to have respect for the opponent. It cannot and must not become an abuse.
You can't be abusive like any sport. It has to be a vehicle for, I can remember, I can't understand the translation here, but
I don't know how these fuckers live with themselves. Yeah, I think the important part here is to say that it was an abuse, and I'll take out this part about it being a weapon in life, but only for defense.
You wanna know what I do?
No.
I'm not a woman, so this circumstance could never happen. But if I was Carini, and they said, go into the boxing ring, the fight's gonna happen, I would put my hands behind my back, and I would stand perfectly still, and I would not move. I would not guard. I would not put my hands up. Or, I think they might require you.
Well, you're never going to be boxing anyway, Tim Pool, so you don't got to worry about that, buddy. You're never going to be caught dead boxing. If you were boxing, you probably would die. This guy just seems like a giant pussy. I don't know. Yeah, Smaggle, I saw what you said. I added them. All right, Jumper, I'll call you after this.
For you too, before the fight starts, I'd immediately put them down, and I'd put them to the side. Put my hands behind my back. I wouldn't fight. I'd say, no, you can win. Yeah, but you're going to have to beat me defenseless. I don't play
so badass.
These games.
I don't play these games.
I used to think like Tim Pool. When I was a kid, I would consume a lot of TV shows and movies, and I do a lot of daydreaming and fantasizing about like what I would do in a specific scenario. Well, I do this.
It's like the whole fucking it's like the whole goddamn like, if I was on the 9/11 flight, here's what I would do. It's like, yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, I mean, iDubbbz is kind of owning them right now, man. He is. Like, this entire issue seemingly was completely overblown by the media because of, I think there are a lot of genuinely justified criticisms of the trans community, of transgenderism in general, and on top of that, I think there's a lot of justified criticisms of, you know, trans people being in boxing, you know, or in the Olympics in general, in athletics. But I think, to me, the problem seems to be that these people just saw that there was, you know, someone that looked kind of like a dude, and they were just like, oh, that is a dude, they're a trans person, let's just talk about it, when they weren't at all. They're still a man, but they're not a man, is the thing. Like, they're not.
This, I do that, and then everyone would cheer for me. You build up like a fictional scenario. Bro really thinks that he would be the leader of like a civil rights movement, and that Iman Khalif would like have no thought in her brain. She'd just be an out of control animal, just continuing to punch someone who's defenseless in the boxing ring.
And I would stand perfectly still, and I would not move.
And the ref would just like look on in horror, and he wouldn't like stop you or break anything up. You'd just be like, oh no, like this is a child's thought. Why are you sharing that? Despite what Carini said about not wanting to make a political statement, just dropping to her knees and crying was enough to rile up the anti-trans community so that they could use this as another example.
He's being a little bit self-aware there.
Up the anti-trans community. Just dropping to her knees and crying.
Showing that little picture there. Showing a little bit of self-awareness, you know? I like that. Like to see that.
Was enough to rile up the anti-trans community so that they could use this as another example.
2 transgender women boxers have now been given permission to compete in the Olympics.
At least 2 transgender boxers.
I don't know if y'all...
They don't even know what's going on. They just kind of assumed. They kind of assumed that, you know, because of the state of the world and the wokeness of everything, that there were, you know, there were some dudes straight up fighting in there, but there were not. It wasn't the case, you know. This is sickening. This is a travesty. And I guess it made its way all the way to Jake Paul and Logan Paul and their dad, who all just repeated the same shit.
Y'all been watching the Olympics, but I called this a while ago. This trans lie, we have to stop. A woman who got her ass kicked by some dude in 46 seconds.
It's unfortunate that Iman and Lin Yuting are specifically being accused of being trans, because it automatically plays into the dichotomy that if a trans person was competing, it would be a problem. And that's not necessarily...
I'm going to push back here. I think a trans person competing is generally a problem. I think it is, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of cases like with Leah Thomas where they're an overly clearly, masculine male, much taller than the average woman, much stronger than the average woman, a lot more muscle mass at, some point in time. They then transition. But then there's this like narrative where people just lie about it after the fact and they're like, oh, well, they underwent the surgery and they got hormones. So, they're basically a woman now. And it's like, but that's just not how it works. Like, if you want to be treated, with respect in society and whatever else, like, fine, whatever the fuck. Okay. You want the bathrooms. Okay. I don't really think that should be the case, but you know what? In this instance, I'll be like, okay. Actually, no, I won't be like, okay, trans people should not be in fucking women's bathrooms. That should not be the case, okay? Opens up a lot of problems. But it's gone even farther than that. Now the conversation is, oh, well, if you're trans, you're the same exact thing as a biological woman who was born that way, and you should be able to fight in the Olympics, which is retarded. I don't care about bathrooms, not going to lie. If you look like a full-on dude, you're in a women's restroom, that's equally weird. I mean, the thing is, like, a women's restroom, okay, is like to them like a sacred place, okay, where they're going to go. There's not going to be men there who are going to be creeping on them. You can say like, oh, well, what about lesbians? Okay, but like realistically, that's such a small portion of the population, which, I mean, in fairness, trans people are too. But, lesbians are still women, biologically. Trans people, if they want to be treated fine in society, I think that's totally fine. But I don't think they should be in a women's bathroom. I just don't, And it's not because I think every trans person is going to assault a woman. It's just because, like, I don't expect women to feel comfortable with someone who was a guy a couple months ago or something being in a bathroom. What about passing trans people, though? But the thing is, it's not just about whether you pass or not, right? It's about, like, someone who was or is biologically a guy being in a bathroom with girls. I don't think that should be the case at all. Or like a locker room. We saw a case not that long ago where at Planet Fitness, there was some, individual that said they were trans, which is fine. That's totally fine. But they were in the women's, locker room with their dick out. It's like, that shouldn't be the case.
Necessarily the case. Sports federations all across the world are figuring out what it means to have a trans athlete competing as a man or a woman. Each federation is deciding different things. Now, I bring up these federations because the IBA is the Federation for Boxing. They are specifically the ones who have been working.
My question with bathrooms is who checks? I mean, I don't know what the solution is to that situation. Like, what do you really do? I guess the best solution overall would probably be to just have like single-use bathrooms where one person can be in it at the same time and they're like unisex or something. I guess that's the solution, where you don't have stalls. I mean, that probably would be the best solution. But yeah, I mean, how do you check? I don't know. Do you expect the bartender to be like, all right, penis check time. What do you got? You know what I'm saying?
Working with the International Olympic Committee to put on boxing at the Olympics. Now, ever since, I want to say, the 2016 Olympics, there was some match fixing or accusations of match fixing, and the IOC and IBA have been butting heads. So Iman and Lin Yuting both competed in the IBA tournament in New Delhi in 2023, and they did well, but after the tournament, their sex test results came back. The sex tests for Iman Khalif and Lin Yuting both came back as XY. The argument that I'm making is that in the year of 2023, when these athletes competed and they were, targeted, sex tested, and stripped of their titles, there was no mention of gender eligibility in the handbook. In the letter that Iman receives from the IBA, it cites section 4.2.1 from the technical handbook. That section basically reads like, we reserve the right to make the final decision on a fighter's eligibility. Case closed, basically. And I just think that is so shitty. If you're going to, go through the effort of making a new handbook every year and changing the rules every year, clearly the rules mean something, or they should mean something. Because what's in the handbook for 2024 is basically what they did discreetly in 2023. And none of the fighters had that information. They didn't know what the gender eligibility requirements were. As far as they knew, it was be a woman. You can at least argue that if you waited for the following year where you established the definitions and the criteria, that information would be publicly available to everyone, including the competitors, and they can make the decision for themselves. Do I want to risk this? A lot of these losers online have been thinking the smoking gun here is these athletes not appealing the decision that the IBA made.
But they had a chance to appeal, but they didn't. That's the bottom line, which means they're male.
Which means they're male? That's just not true, though. Like, that they have a chance to appeal. Well, is the appeal going to, like, change the entire process? That doesn't mean that they're male. If anything, it means the opposite. If they had appealed because they knew there was some issue with the system, you know, the requirements that they might not fit into it, then if anything, that would be more indicative that they thought there was something that could potentially disqualify them. But the thing is, like, they weren't even fucking men in the first place, ever. They're dudes. Or sorry, they weren't men in the first place. They're chicks. Dude, the titty emote? No. Why does he look like that? Great question. Why so serious? Also great question.
Did they not appeal that unfair ruling?
If you're about to fight in the gold medal round and they tell you you can't because you're not actually a woman and you are one.
You can't say that for sure, but it doesn't mean that. How am I coping? They're literally biological women. Like, they have pussies they were born with. They're women. That's what a girl is. What do you mean?
Why the hell would you not appeal? It makes no sense. These two are male.
I hate these people. The Court for Sports Arbitration is the high court for sports. Whatever decision they make is the final decision. To put your gender identity, your whole being, in the hands of a sports court is already a crazy thing to do. They aren't here to determine what is right, what is correct. They're here to determine what's fair, what they think is fair for the sport. They don't care that you've been competing for the past 8 years, the money you've spent, the time you've spent, everything that you've done for the past 8 years is irrelevant to them, because they can just look at your chromosomes and be like, you're a fucking man. Who are you appeasing and how are you rewarded at the end of the day for participating in that system? Piers Morgan says if she's a biological woman, he's a biological aardvark.
Look at this. This is a man. This is a man. And we don't care if they look like women. They have to actually be women. Look at this. We know this is a man. Eyes still matter.
So if these are the people you have to...
This is not very good arguments at all from these guys. I mean, the thing is, like, there are like masculine women that exist, you know? This is a lame video. I think it's relatively good. I mean, he's kind of owning them, you know? He's kind of destroying them with facts and logic. Like, he's kind of destroying them, bro.
Prove your womanhood to. Is it really worth it? They clearly have already made up their mind. I don't think it's worth it. No, sorry, you're a loser. The opinions of losers are not going to be considered. One of the first stories I read is a story of Ewa Klabukowska. Now, Ewa Klabukowska is a Polish track and field athlete. I think she's still alive today. But back in the 60s, when she was competing at the Olympics, she had to take a sex chromatin test. And that basically is a cheek swab, and she failed the test. Upon failing the sex test, she was stripped of all of her titles, essentially erased from the record books, and her results were publicized to the world.
He has zero charisma? I feel like his charisma is fine here. I feel like he's totally... This is the best video I've seen from iDubbbz in a while, man. Like, the arguments are pretty decent. The clips he's pulling are pretty decent. The humor is not really, you know, my thing, but, like, it's a fine video, I think. Most of the arguments I see are decent.
What's fascinating about Eva's story is after being banned from competing in women's sports, a year later, she gave birth to a son. Now, you might think that this gives her a lot...
I think the thing that people misunderstand about my position on iDubbbz, which if you feel differently, I mean, that's you personally, but my problem with iDubbbz has never been, like, his switch in politics, right? Obviously, like, some of the stuff he's going to say I'm going to disagree with, some of it I'm going to agree with, but at the end of the day, like, the main problem for me was just, like, he stopped making good content and just started being so wrapped up in, like, Twitter bullshit and, like, cancer with, like, the OnlyFans thing. Like, he should have just been making videos, you know? And this is, like, the first video I've seen from him in a while that's, like, a relatively decent commentary video, even if it's from a perspective that I don't necessarily agree with all the time, you know? He's kind of owning these people. He's owning Megyn Kelly. He's owning Piers Morgan. They were wrong. They were just wrong.
A lot of credit in the womanhood department. But if you listen to someone like Riley Gaines...
If you have a Y chromosome, you are a male.
Based on their definition of what a man is...
Because they tested XY positive, they're male.
A man got pregnant. What kind of excuse and cope would these people come up with?
If the DNA test comes back and says, sorry, you're a bloke, you can't compete anymore.
Okay, now we're in the 80s. We have Maria Jose Martinez Pateno. In 1985, she had forgotten her certificate of femaleness, so she needed to take another...
Certificate of femaleness. This is a real thing? Certificate of femaleness. Certificate female. This is just some retarded term. When I look it up, I see articles about gender studies, so I'm just going to click off that, but didn't really find anything compelling there. I guess he's just saying she forgot her certificate saying that she was a woman. I do like the idea of a certificate of femaleness, though. I think we should have that. You need a certificate of femaleness. How do I get mine? This is too complex. Give a Joker break. I think you raise a good point, man. And it's Jonkler, actually. I want to give a Joker break. I'd give a Jonkler break, though. Can you please do the goat scream thing? My wife divorced me? Yeah, of course, dude. Anything for you. The real question when confronted with the goat, the question about your own insecurity that you have to ask is, why so serious? Why so goddamn serious?
Why so serious? Why so serious?
Imagine if iDubbbz just uploaded that. I think everybody would agree.
Other sex test. Unfortunately, she had failed this test. The Olympics sort of learned their lesson with Eva. They basically said, like, to all the athletes who failed the sex test, they said, fake an injury so you aren't humiliated. 2 months after she was advised to fake an injury, she got a letter that classified her as a 46XY male. But because Maria is different, she's built different, she has AIS, and that stands for androgen insensitivity syndrome. So any benefit that she would have gotten from testosterone would have been negated completely. She got dumped by her boyfriend. She was super worried that she had the same condition that had killed her brother years before through trying to pursue the idea.
Thank you, Tom. Now I have become a Skibbity Taste Sigma based. What's also good about this video is like he's going really in depth in this topic. He's showing like the history of different athletes and stuff like that who have been in similar positions to, you know, Iman Khalif. I think it's very interesting to watch him dissect like the various issues that have come with all of these, you know, gender problems, gender conversations, you know, because you do have, at the end of the day, you have some people who are like technically biological women, but their biology isn't exactly, you know, quote unquote, quite right, you know, even though they do have a vagina.
Idea of fairness. They have been so unfair to these women throughout time, and they haven't prevented any men from competing in sports. And it's not as if that would be the worst thing that happened. Like if you're forcing a surgery on one of your athletes for them to
had to undergo a clitoridectomy in order to continue competing. Let us return to sports to make this systemic violence visible. The Brazilian athlete Edinanchi Fernandes da Silva, an intersex woman and judoka, had to undergo a clitoridectomy in order to continue competing. Why should a person's larger than normal clitoris have to be reduced in order for them to compete in sports? This is the kind of systemic violence that governs intersex people's bodies. Interesting. Forced surgery in order to compete. I remixed Jonkler into a dubstep song because I released it, of course.
To be able to compete, that basically is...
She had the Arby's kit based. You see Ethan is online as trans, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care. Kind of crazy, I guess.
Like, we're the baddies. We're the ones doing the bad thing. One of the arguments that I've seen floating around is, why should we accommodate such a low percentage of the population?
I very much think this person is a rarity, but I don't think you make exceptions for one rarity and put other XX women's health and safety at jeopardy.
Interesting argument. So he's saying, okay, they are technically a biological woman, but because of the rarity, because of how much of an exception they are, they jeopardize the validity of the competition. Therefore, we shouldn't have to make exceptions for them, is essentially what he's saying, right?
We're not talking about one rarity when we talk about intersex people. We're talking about a portion of the population. These aren't people who are eventually going to go away. They're going to keep competing in sports, and they're going to keep showing up to the Olympics.
If you're being intersex, we're talking about 0.1% of the population. Okay, it's a very, very small portion of the population.
Otherwise known as 0.1%. It's not an accurate number. The number is actually 0.018%, but I'm here to challenge what you might think is a tiny portion of the population. Because people with the name Caitlyn actually make up 0.00136%. There are 13 times more people who are intersex than people named Caitlyn in the US.
0.000.
Is that true? Interesting.
0. Whatever of the population.
0.001% of people have Swyer syndrome.
Okay. I mean, the argument he's just making is like, it's more common than you would think, you know? It's not so. What's his argument? I mean, the argument he's making is like, you know, you would associate typically being intersex with like such a crazy rarity, but technically there are more of them than people named Caitlyn. Now, I think the pushback, if you want to disagree with that, is like, okay, well, people named Caitlyn aren't necessarily biologically different in any way from the average, you know, woman versus people who are intersex are, is the argument you would push back on. But I get the argument he's going for.
Which means you have XY chromosomes, but you have all the normal female reproductive organs. Now let's compare that to 0.0000124% of people named Megan with a Y. I could now kind of understand why Megan with a Y.
Did he pick a picture where she kind of looked like a dude here on purpose?
Pissed is because she wanted to be Megan with an A. Megxin.
0.01% and 2% of the entire global population.
People with androgen.
I miss Kickstarter, Crab, and Bad Unboxing. I mean, yeah, he's probably never going to make those again, though, if I had to guess. I'm in the market doubling gold today only. Troll all.
Insensitivity syndrome make up 0.0035% of the population.
I get what he's saying, but I don't think this is a super strong argument in his favor. The argument he's making is to dispute what Caitlyn Jenner says. I don't think this greatly helps his point.
To compare that to people named Piers, that would be 0.00007%. So you are 500 times more likely to be born with androgen insensitivity syndrome than to be named Piers. The reason I'm bringing up these percentages is because I think a lot of us have the tendency to like downplay and dehumanize people when we think that they're essentially an insignificant portion of the population. They feel insignificant because you don't know anyone who's intersex. I mean, you've heard these people.
I mean, it is still a relatively insignificant statistic, right? Like, okay, you don't know anyone who's intersex, true. And I agree, like, these people who are intersex are not, they're not like men, you know, they're not trans. But at the same time, like, it's still a super small portion of the population. So the question is, like, do we make an exception for someone like this, you know? Like, is it valid to make an exception like this and allow them in the Olympics when they could potentially, you know, influence the course of, I mean, really athletic history, you know? Like, you know, imagine, you know, from their position, even if they're not trans, right? Imagine being a woman, okay, a typical woman, a woman who isn't intersex, doesn't have, you know, Swire syndrome, whatever, right? A woman who is just a woman through and through, right? Who has, you know, the typical chromosomes, they have all the typical test levels you would expect, like all of that, right? And they're asked to compete against someone who is a woman, technically, biologically, they are, but they've never competed against someone like this. It's never been the realistic expectation for them, seemingly. And the person they're, you know, trying to beat is, you know, a lot larger than them. I feel like the real solution here is having like better weight classes for this kind of thing. Having better, I guess, height classes could even be a benefit. That's basically what I would say about that. But you know, I get what he's saying. I got nothing interesting to say. Here's a dono. Thank you. Are we, dude, are you fucking kidding me? I think it's literally YouTube. Because at this point, OBS is fine. OBS is operating perfectly fine. So it's literally just YouTube. YouTube, can you fix your fucking broken ass website, bro? I'm trying to watch an iDubbbz video right now. This is really important. Can you fix your fucking broken, stupid ass website, bro? It's your internet. My internet is perfect. OBS never stopped responding. OBS is perfectly fine. It's literally YouTube, dude. It's not even the internet. I can see, like, I have my stats from my internet. It's totally fine. My upload and download is perfectly fine. All the bars look good. Like, it's clearly YouTube. Like, YouTube just stops connecting with my streaming software for some reason. It's so fucking annoying, bro.
They're saying XX chromosome woman, XY man. And then you show them one of these intersex people and their brain fucking explodes. They're like, what the hell? Like, I guess it's like a physical, like a biologically trans person. Like, they can't compute.
The whole thing is confusing to me. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this conversation being wrapped up in this like gender culture war is just that it completely obfuscates from the real point. I think that should be the real conversation that should be being had. There's a good video about this topic from Derek from More Place More Dates, actually, where he talks about this and the like benefits you could have for being intersex.
Trans. It's not the transgender athlete declaring themselves female. This is at birth, I guess.
It's not a choice. It's, I guess, you're born this way.
Mutation in the genes. Whatever.
Well, now that I can't say that it's a mental illness, I don't know what to do. This is like analog trans? This is acoustic trans?
Safety.
Boxing is inherently a dangerous sport. You're punching another person in the face and they're punching you. So
True.
the boxers are well aware of how unsafe it is. The doctors, the refs, the coaches, the judges, everyone fucking knows that it is just an unsafe sport in general. What they don't need is random commentators online saying how unsafe it is to have someone like Iman Khalif competing.
Men competing with women and destroying women's sports. What's it gonna take? It might take somebody
This guy is such a spurg, bro.
dying.
She had never been punched like this before. Someone's gonna die.
This is about preventing a man from beating a woman to death.
Radical trans.
To death? It's boxing, bro. It's just fucking boxing. It's a deadly sport. You can die from boxing. You can get insane head trauma from it. They know what they're getting into.
Activists and those who support them are not going to be happy until a woman is dead. A woman is
Until a woman is dead?
going to have to die for people to see reason and logic here.
I don't think
Reason and logic. How ironic.
that would stop it.
These people are talking a lot about death. I don't think any of them got the memo. There's a lot of deaths in boxing. I think they're being very dramatic because they see an opportunity to push their agenda and they're like, sweet, I've been complaining about men and women's sports.
Someone with a penis coming at you in the locker room. How about my daughter not going into a locker room and seeing a man's penis? Showing off a penis in a locker room with his penis out.
Now's the example where I could say, okay, like,
In fairness, I don't think that, you know, individuals with dicks should be in the women's locker room. I don't think that's that controversial of a thing to say.
it's violent and it could lead to death. Maybe people will listen to me now. If you sign up for boxing, compete in boxing, you're consensually agreeing to beat the shit out of...
Tom will get loose a boxing match to a woman. I would get loose? You mean I would lose? Probably. If she's boxed any more than I have, which is any time at all, considering I've never boxed, you're probably right.
Another person as they attempt to do it to you. So the fear that these people are trying to propagate on the general public is not a new fear. But guess what? All of those female boxers at the Olympics, they've been doing it for years. Angela Carini, just like every other female fighter, consented to fighting her opponent.
And shame on the IOC for not protecting the safety of women's sports.
Other women at an unfair advantage, but unsafe advantage.
Caitlyn Jenner is such an interesting case. I don't understand them. I don't really understand their psychology fully. Because you would expect, given like how they are, they would be like, I don't know, at least more nuanced on this issue, you know? Like, I'm not saying that they should be pushing for HRT for children. In fact, that would be very bad. I would think very low of them for that. But to me, it seems like they're almost like a pick-me, which is super interesting. They seem like somewhat of an insane person.
It is up for a society to prevent the abuse of women, but we don't do that anymore.
Women getting injured in sport, women getting beaten in the boxing ring is not uniquely dangerous. A lot of these people just don't like it. It is like very obvious in the way that they talk that they feel personally uncomfortable with it.
Women shouldn't box.
Oh. I was kind of shocked by his take. I was about to like defend them, be like, no, there's no way they actually think that. They just, you know, are misguided, but they actually think women shouldn't box at all.
It's wrong. I can't watch it.
To watch a woman get punched in the face is almost unbearable.
To see a woman violently punched in the head by a man, I cannot understate how despicable that is.
And that tells you all you need to know, because they don't see men and women as equal. That's just a fact. And that's fine, that is like their ideology, but they can't insert their opinion about women's boxing, because if it was up to them, women wouldn't be boxing, period.
Actually, some things are better left to the fellas, like catching blows to the head, and some things are better left to the women, like giving birth, for instance.
Jesus. I mean, that's an unabashedly conservative viewpoint for sure. I don't know what else you can say about that. That's kind of cringe. It's definitely not satire. Biologically, they are different. Well, yeah, of course. I don't think that anybody's denying that. I mean, maybe iDubbbz is. I mean, I haven't just seen that part yet. But yeah, obviously, like, men and women are biologically different. But I still think that if a woman wants to, she should be allowed to box other women. You know, I think that should be okay. I think that's okay.
Megyn Kelly wants us to use our eyes.
Eyes still matter.
For everything except
Facts
for
and
ability
logic.
to box. Okay, so what the hell? So you want me to just very blatantly discriminate against someone and then close my eyes for the boxing? Because Iman's got fights. She's got 9 losses and only 7 knockouts. You look at Gervonta
Against other women.
Davis's fight record and you're like, oh shit, what a knockout rate. I don't think I want an average professional boxer to go in the ring with this guy. You can make that argument, but no one's making the argument for him because
I feel like the big benefit iDubbbz has here is he's like a boxing fan and he probably watches a lot of boxing, so he's able to kind of delve into the minutia of the issue more than a lot of these commentators are.
they're like, they're all grown men. They can choose for themselves what they want to do with their lives. But when it comes to the grown women, they're like, nah, it's about time us men step in because this is now a men's issue. If you guys want to know how to feel about Iman Khalif, look no further than the way these random men reacted as compared to women boxers who actually have fought Iman Khalif.
It was disturbing to watch.
To me, they've got blood on their hands because there was blood coming from a nose and it was a disgrace.
But that's just what happens. Like, that's part of boxing. That's the thing that just happens with any boxing at all. Like, boxing is a bloody, brutal sport.
Would you be comfortable fighting against it?
I've already fought against Iman, hard fighter, and my last fight was against Iman in the Netherlands in the final, so, yeah. You just keep punching in the sport of boxing, it doesn't really matter, so, yeah.
Logan Paul, WWE superstar, boxer, influencer, he yesterday said, "This is the purest form of evil unfolding before our eyes. A man allowed to beat up a woman on the global stage, crushing her life's dream."
Very happy for Iman, weathered the storm and got what she deserved. This is sickening. This is a travesty.
The pictures of Jake and Logan are so fire. I like Jake's swag, whatever this is.
I'm not afraid. We're evenly matched.
Sorry, it's not more dangerous. The fights have concluded, and Iman kicked their asses, but it wasn't more dangerous. Oopsie. It's like your worst nightmare came true. After Logan Paul, Piers Morgan, and J.K. Rowling give their highly educated take on Iman Khalif, they get to go back to what they've been doing. Logan Paul gets to reskin Lunchables and sell them for millions of dollars. Piers Morgan gets to move on to the next news story. J.K. Rowling gets to write her next book about wizards who definitely don't experience gender dysphoria.
What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck is he talking about? Is he saying Harry is trans?
Morgan gets to move on to the next news story. J.K. Rowling gets to write her next book about wizards who definitely don't experience...
Is he saying that Harry wants to be a woman? What does that mean?
...gender dysphoria. Oh, by the way...
What the fuck is he... What is he talking about? I mean, I know that J.K. Rowling doesn't really like... doesn't like trans people. I'm aware of this, but... What is... Is he just making a joke at the expense of J.K. Rowling that would piss her off or something? Is that it? What does that mean? Is Harry Potter gay? Do I not know this lore? I've seen all the movies. I don't remember Harry being gay. I could be wrong. But I don't really... What?
By the way, Iman Khalif is suing Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling, which is just fucking awesome. I think that's about as much as I can contribute to this conversation. But if you enjoyed this
They did. Spread misinformation and slander a little bit.
Content,
Can't deny it.
have at least 20 minutes of edited content that I'm going to upload on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. I realize that every video I make on this channel, I have at least 20 minutes of edited content that I just send off into the ether every time. I figured this is a good way to be a little bit more...
Okay, well, you know what? There was stuff I disagree with. There were takes I didn't like. There were points I didn't like. But I thought that was a pretty good video from iDubbbz. I thought that was pretty good. Genuinely, I thought it was pretty good, okay? He had a real point. He had backing arguments. He had some research behind it. There were some jokes that I didn't really find funny, but there was a point to it. It was a real video. It was a real video. Basic BreadTube video. Well, look at the shit he's been making. You can't tell me this isn't an improvement from fucking, I transformed ugly products into valuable art. I don't want to watch this. Upgrading the keychain, I couldn't even get through any of this. Waffle House training video breakdown. A lot of these videos are shit. This is a real video.